Hi, this is Scott Allen Miller. On Sam IT today, I want to talk about something that comes up pretty often and is a tough one to address. Well, it's easy to address in some ways and hard in others, and that is, what should I be doing in my home lab? It's actually kind of tough. I mean, the high-level, simple answer is do anything and everything you would do in a business. But of course, if you're new to IT, you may not know what everyone does in a business or have any idea how to access it or exactly what it would look like. So that becomes a bit of a challenge. So I was lucky. I worked in business when I was much younger, and so already had a decent view of internal business IT when I got into really kind of shifting my career from engineering to IT. And that gave me a good head start for my home lab. But there's a lot of basics you can pick up, especially through doing like certification courses and stuff, where, just as an example, Microsoft's MCSE coursework is going to cover an awful lot of what a business looks like. And in many cases, you can kind of figure out what a business looks like. We know that their desktops are going to be heavily managed. We know that they're going to have central password authentication management systems. We know that they're going to do everything with automation and centralized storage and backups and protection and lots of view into what they're doing. We may not know what those things look like, but we kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like. Even if you've never worked in a business, you can probably picture a lot of these things, maybe just because you've been exposed to it in school or you've seen other businesses working casually as a customer or whatever. But so tackling the wide range of things, there's two things we have to consider. One is, what is your goals in your education? If you're looking to become a DBA, or you're looking to become a systems admin, or you're looking to become a network admin, so you're going to create very different educational paths as to what you want to look at, but that's a separate conversation. If we're looking at things that a business does, well, this is where the sky's kind of the limit and you kind of have to play around and just start coming up with a big list of things. Some basic things that you would do at home that you would also do in a business could include managing your desktop with central authentication, even if you only have one or two desktops. Your desktop and your laptop, go get some VMs and put some desktop environments there, whatever. Virtualization. All businesses have virtualization, you should too. Maybe try different kinds. Variety is also an important thing. Look at normal usage activities in a business. Are they going to send email? Of course they are. Are you running your own email system? You can do that at home. Everything you can do in a business, you can do at home reasonably. Now, a lot of businesses may go with hosted email, and you're free to play with that at home as well, but you're not going to get the same education playing with hosted email that you would with your own email. But if it's just one account, you may want to do both. Get really good exposure to just, the differences, and this is how much work it is to run email, and I know how to run email, but I would normally make the business decision to go hosted. Those kinds of things can be incredibly useful, and you talk about those things in an interview. I ran my own email at home. I ran 3 different kinds of servers. I know how much work each of them takes, and I know why I probably wouldn't do that. I did that. I did it, unfortunately, in a corporate environment. Built my own email server from the ground up, realized how incredibly labor-intensive that was to build, how dangerous it was to support alone, and moved to host it because it made sense for the business. So the technical led me to business decisions, and you can make business decisions at home. You just have to learn to weigh the factors. How much is your time worth? How much is the investment? What kind of capital do you have? And those kinds of things. And you can get hosted email for $2 a month, $4 a month for the top-end enterprise stuff. We're not talking about huge investments, but you don't necessarily have to make them either. Hosted, you probably can figure out how to use, even if you haven't used it yourself. Instant messaging. Businesses tend to use instant messaging of some sort. Deploy some at home, whether it's OpenFire or Microsoft Communicator, Link, and Rocket Chat, Mattermost, things like that. These are not super complicated things to get set up and working. You can run them at home. Sure, it might just be you talking to your parents or a spouse or kids or whatever, but why not, right? Or you can take your home lab and expand it beyond your home. You want to make email for your family? Go for it. You want to make instant messaging for your family? Go for it. Get family and friends who don't live in the house to also use your instant messaging. This might actually be a better way to learn because you actually have users to support. Maybe only 5, but that's perfect. Get 5 users, get them to complain about things when they don't work. Ask them to use a ticketing system. Build a ticketing system, right? Whether that's Spiceworks or OS Ticket or a Sodium Suite or whatever, there's products out there that are free or low cost. All of those are free. And You can you just install on your own servers or start using and have people put in tickets, and you respond to tickets and keep good notes. Have good documentation. That doesn't mean writing it in Notepad. Fire up a documentation system, maybe DocuWiki or MediaWiki or a SharePoint site. All those are great options. Run your own internal house like you would imagine a great business would do, with good documentation, solid key control. Get out there using KeePass or LastPass or some kind of password management system. Maybe run your own storage, whether that's a NAS in your house or a file server, or more modern storage like a cloud storage type thing. So Nextcloud, for example, or a product like that. Share it with your family. So something like a file server might be a little bit hard to share with people outside your house, but if you're doing something like Nextcloud, it could be perfect for sharing with someone outside your house. And then you can do things like integrate that with the email. Maybe use that as your email client, or just whatever, or have central authentication between all these systems. The more you build, the more you'll have to support. As you do that, you'll find that you're offering benefits to your family and to other people. Maybe not big benefits, and maybe it's kind of silly, but you can transfer files, you can email each other and communicate really easily. Build a PBX and make voice communications between members of the family. And this is something that I do. I do it less as a home lab and more as home production, if that makes sense. But I run a PBX for home. Mine is hosted, and in my home we have multiple phone lines. We can call between rooms. We can call outside. It's our landline. We can also call other members of the family who are on the same system. We don't have to make an outside call. We can call them on an internal extension. We have voice, of course we have voice calling. We have video calling. We can do video over it. We have lots of flexibility. We can do conference rooms, IVRs, all kinds of things, and we can share one incoming number throughout everyone in the family if we want to, and just know our extensions. Lots of power and flexibility in a system like this, that, sure, you don't need it, but it's a great way to learn, a great way to get experience, and it actually produces some kind of neat value for your family and friends. It could be fun, right? And it doesn't require family. Get all your friends involved. Get everyone to use a soft phone. Put it on your Android or iPhone and just make calls from there over your PBX. Lots of great experience for you. Could be interesting for them, and maybe you'll find some benefits or cost savings or whatever by doing this. You could make sensors for your house and measure temperature or humidity and record them somewhere. Build your own application. Of course, we're getting out of IT and we're getting into software engineering, but there's lots of good opportunities there, and there's a lot of crossover stuff. Automate all of your systems. Don't spend time manually managing them all. I mean, maybe do that at first because you'll help you learn how it works, but then learn how to automate them. Once you get past traditional automating with first command line and then scripted command line, maybe move on to state systems like Ansible or Salt, Puppet or Chef, right? Lots and lots of cool technologies, most of them free, that you can jump in and start using immediately. Build your own internal websites. Make not just a website, but an application. So instead of just a static HTML site, do a WordPress. Make a blog about the things that you're doing inside the house. Host it on your own servers. And when we say home lab, in many cases, that's inside your house. That often is the most cost effective. But we could also mean hosting it on a cloud host like Vultr or DigitalOcean, Amazon, Lightsail, or someone like that, right? Linode is another great example. If you're going to do something like hosting your own blog, maybe that's a better way to go because you want it to be publicly facing and you want it to be highly reliable because people might be reading it. So things like that. There's lots of things, and you'll be getting exposure to managing databases, building applications, installing and configuring and connecting to databases, and taking backups. Make sure you're taking backups of everything. Do centralized backups, do backup management, test your backups. These are all great practices that you can do at home and get value from. If your data at home was backed up and tested, would you sleep better at night? Sure. A lot better? Maybe not. But a little? Yes. Get some advantage out of it. These are things you can do. And you can just keep thinking about the different things that businesses would do. Central logging. Have a central server that collects the logs from every device that you have, whether it's a VM or physical or whatever, and actively look at those logs. Make dashboards. Pay attention to your logs. Learn how to look through logs. Learn what good baselines look like. Central management, something like Zabbix or Xenos, right? That looks at all of your machines and can collect data on them and tell you if they're up or down, or CPUs are spiking or whatever. Use a desktop management system. There's products out there like Sodium Suite or Spiceworks that are free, and you can use those to do more traditional SMB management, as opposed to like Zabbix tends towards what we think of as enterprise, or like server-side management, where you're really looking at kind of up and downs with servers, and Sodium Suite and Spiceworks tend to look more towards things like, oh, here's desktops that we expect to go up and down, but we need to have lots of information about them, and it might be part of your documentation system to make all of this work. So there's lots and lots of different things that you can just keep looking at different products and different approaches and different styles, and of course do all of this with variety. If you do one web server in one case, maybe use a completely different web server with a completely different database and a completely different application for a different task, and by splitting those things up and sharing them, you'll get more and more exposure to different things. And of course, keep it focused on the things that matter to you. If you're really heavily working on the networking side, maybe you're going to be more interested in publishing a VPN for people to connect to and having some complex routing that you're going to have to build inside your network, versus if you're looking at systems or application management, where you're going to be looking at what applications you can provide or the platforms for providing them. If you're looking at virtualization, you may be focusing a lot on disaster recovery and high availability and those kinds of things, or central single pane of glass management interfaces and those sorts of things. And maybe you're going to be focused on storage, and you're going to want to have a SAN and a NAS and some object storage all on your network and store things for people in different ways, and work heavily with backup and those kinds of things. Lots and lots of variety, lots of ways that you can approach it, and just really an unlimited number of things that you can build in your home. Never feel that you should have run out of things you can do at home. You should only run out of time in which to do them. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it gives you lots of great creative ideas, and you can run out and start experimenting in your home lab or your hosted home lab and find lots of interesting problems to tackle. And of course, always go out and document what you're working on and write about it, especially in online communities. It's a great place to get people to talk to you about decisions you've made. You can say why you're trying an application. People can give you feedback about the way in which you're trying it, whether it's a good application, how that might be used in business, factors you may not have considered, things that you might be doing differently at home than what people would do in a business, things like that. There's a lot of good feedback you can get that way that might be really useful. And in some cases, of course, you're going to have to buy equipment, but by and large, you're going to be able to do most of this stuff for free, or nearly for free, which gives you a lot of flexibility. And of course, you can build things and tear them down, but one of the biggest advantages is if you run things in production from home, right? Treat it like it's production. Keep it up. Monitor it for uptime. Do regular maintenance on it. Keep it secure. Secure everything, of course. Approach everything with a security and a reliability mindset. Think about it from a business operations perspective, and that will help you get maximum value from your home lab and how you approach it. And of course, all of this is for the purpose of, one, producing online documentation that people can look at and say, wow, look at the dedication, look at the things that this person is doing. This is a great insight into their motivation, their activity, their interests, their areas of expertise. And also, it becomes an amazing talking point in your interviews, right? You go in and you talk to someone about what you do at home, and they're going to have a completely different perspective of you when they ask, if you have two people that you're going to hire, and one has once touched Exchange, and you have not only touched it, but run it in production at home for multiple users, and have taken it through migrations and different versions, and you can tell them all about your home experience and things that you do cradle to grave with emails, not just something you installed someplace because you were told to, you made decisions about it, you made it work. You have a type of experience that most people are going to lack, even though they had access to it. And of course, then use your home lab to go get certifications on those things that you want to take further. You will just build upon that experience. Thank you for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe, and of course you can sponsor us on Patreon, and I encourage everyone to get involved in the conversation below and talk about things you've done in your home lab, the things that you found valuable, things that you found not so valuable, things that you found challenging or couldn't figure out why it would be useful in a home lab, how to make it work with your family and friends, give examples of projects that I haven't mentioned that you think would be good, because I'm sure there's tons and tons of styles of things out there that I've not mentioned. Thanks for joining me.